Hi, I'm Sam Sorbo. You've heard me talk about Mike Lindell, who I adore. You know, he's the inventor of My Pillow, and how that pillow has given me a good night's sleep that I need. In fact, I never knew how good I could sleep before I had my Pillow. Mike continues to roll out new offers on his products, and the latest one is on his towel sets. Towels aren't something you think about often. I never knew what I was missing until I tried the towels just last year. Now, you have all helped build My Pillow into the incredible company that it is today, and you've trusted Mike Lindell to give you a great night's sleep. Mike's now changing the game with his 6-piece towel set. The set's made with USA cotton, making it extremely absorbent, and yet still providing that soft feel you look for in a towel. The set comes with 2 bath, 2 hand towels, and 2 washcloths, typically retailing for $109.99. But for a limited time, you can get this set for the low price of $39.99. And that's using promo code Sam Sorbo. So remember, all My Pillow products come with a 60-day money-back guarantee. You just go to mypillow.com, click on the radio listener specials to get this insanely low price of $39.99 on the towel set. You'll find deep discounts on other My Pillow products as well. So enter promo code Sam Sorbo, or you can call 800-625-5983. That's 800-625-5983 for these great radio specials. Hi, this is Sam Sorbo. I want to invite you all to join me at the Playbook for Home Learning Conference put on by Underground Education. There's a new community that started online called the Underground Education Community. You can find it by going to samsorbo.com. You can also find all the information about the conference, about how to approach education with your kids. Times are hard for parents right now. There's a lot going on in the schools that we don't like. But I'll tell you something, home learning is easier than you ever thought it could be and more fun than you ever imagined. So join me at the Your Playbook for Home Learning Conference this June 24-25 in Port St. Lucie, Florida. And we're going to have a great time. Go to samsorbo.com for more information on everything. I'll see you there. We've discovered, my husband and I, a great American company that supports our traditional values and also the work we're doing to rescue our culture from the lies of the left. So I want you to go check it out. It's called nutramedics.com, nutramedics.com. And you can find there great health and wellness products that are derived from the rainforests. I've found that they work incredibly for me. I take their melatonin. I get a much better night's sleep with that. I also take their relax medics and their mood medics, which are, I don't know what they are, but they're this natural blend of herbs basically, and really easy to take. They actually droppers, and I just love their products, and I love what they stand for, because they have a heart for this nation and they have a heart for people. And I don't know how you would have one without the other. And that's why maybe they have both. But I just love what they do. So go to nutramedics.com and you can actually go to sorbo.nutramedics, and that's with an X, sorbo.nutramedics.com. If you use Sorbo at checkout, you'll get a discount on anything that you purchase there. So go check it out. Get a better night's sleep, get a better day, feel better about yourself. They've got a lot of great products there, including vitamins. I use them all. So trust me, it's great. Nutramedics.com. And thank you so much for listening. Hi there, I'm Sam Sorbo, and my new guest is, she's the founder and the CEO of something called Next Generation Ministries, Independent Learning Academy. So they have about, I think, 4 schools in Southern California. It's an independent learning academy. It's based a little bit on the homeschooling model, which is why I wanted to chat with her. Lesley Russell joins me. Welcome to the program.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Sam.
So you started this about 10 years ago. Is that right?
Yes, technically it was 11 if you count the year it was in my home. We had 65 children in my 2,100 square foot home. And my background is in education. I was a public school teacher outside New York City, so I have my master's in education, and then started homeschooling my own children 22 years ago. So homeschooling mom of 22 years with a daughter in graduate school, 2 in college, and my son currently at ILA, and they all graduated from Independent Learning Academy. So 1 year in the house, and then launched Next Generation Ministries and Independent Learning Academy. So it's been 10 years for ILA. That's how we go by. 11 years if you count the year that was my home as a co-op.
And so describe to me what one of your campuses looks like and how it functions.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very innovative model of education. It's something really cool called capitalism, where the teachers come in and they're independently contracted, so they get paid per student. So if they, whether they have 10 students in their class or 15, kind of like that 15-to-1 student teacher ratio. So the teachers are very inspired and love coming in and teaching. They are able to bring all their creativity. A lot of them are running in that lane of whatever it is they're teaching during the day. And so the way that it's structured is they can come in and teach 1 class or 2 classes, or they can teach like every single day that we're there. And parents—
They're independent contractors, right?
Yes.
The teachers are basically independent contractors. They basically put up a help wanted ad. If you want your child to learn what I'm teaching, sign up with me. And so the parents then choose which teachers, which classes they want their children enrolled in.
Absolutely. So they go to our website, and there's over 300 classes to choose from at our Irvine location. And we have like 100, teachers that teach at all of our different locations. Some of them are just in the Irvine, some of them are itinerant and they travel to other campuses that we have. And the parent goes on, they see a bio, a headshot, a course description, the tuition costs, and they basically build their child's schedule. So it's like a custom built a la carte parent choice model of educating their child. And so they
do you have teacher reviews on there too from previous students?
So like our homeschool community kind of has that on their own. All of our teachers are like excellent, but definitely like with anything, like where do you get your hair done? Where do you go to dinner? Where's a good place? Like definitely like, hey, this class, this teacher, worked really well for me. And so all our teachers are really phenomenal. And we are in that position that we can really bring in the best teachers. We have teachers who have written their own curriculum. We have founders of concepts and organizations, who are coming in, and the actual founders like teaching at our program. So the parent is the consumer, like they get to go on and they get to choose which class for their child. So it really meets the needs of the homeschooling parent, because maybe they only want 1 or 2 classes. And then also like an exiting public school or private school student that really wants to be there more than 1 day, they can be there. Some of our campuses are 4 days. And so they can literally be there every day if they wanted to be. And so we are a K-12 homeschool ministry based on Ephesians 2:10.
What is Ephesians 2:10?
So Ephesians 2:10 is we are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do the good works that he has planned for us. And so we really feel just like we have a physical DNA, God has given us a spiritual DNA, that something that only we can fulfill for his kingdom. And we really feel that every child coming into ILA has that kingdom calling. And so we really are honored to be able to be a part of that and helping them see who they are, who God created them to be, their identity in Jesus Christ, and help to mentor and shepherd them in that with these very dynamic, innovative classes that are taught to them, that are faith-filled and are very inspiring. It's really the biggest email I get from parents is, I have my child back again. They love to learn again, and just being able to completely see the change in their countenance is amazing. It's amazing just to see it, because they come in a lot of times, sometimes with school anxiety, with the pressure of having to learn a certain way. And then all of a sudden they're able to come in and learn the way that they were created to learn. And it's just a lot of those IEPs, those individualized educational plans that had been like following them for years, just because they learned differently, but they were kind of put in this box of having to learn a certain way, all of a sudden just evaporate. They just go away because they can like learn the way that that they interface with information.
It's so interesting, Lesley, because I've taken on this mission work to free parents and children of the shackles of our education system. And the thing that you just mentioned, the IEPs and the school anxiety, or school provoked anxiety that children suffer from because they are expected to perform in a certain way because school intends for children to become common, to put it, common core. School wants all children to be the same because it serves the school for the children to behave in exactly the same manner. And so if you are somewhat different or enough different, you're going to be pounded into shape, or you're going to develop some kind of coping mechanism
Right.
for that, or both, right? And so what you've done is you've taken that off, and you've said, no, people are free people. We have will, and we have impetus, and so you've sort of freed people from the institution, and yet you've managed to, in a sense, institutionalize learning, but in a different way. And it's really remarkable. When I was first exposed to this, I was skeptical. I wanted to do a little investigating, but I like the free market model. And so while I still struggle with the entire classroom type of experience, and I really lean more towards the Socratic dialogue and the seminar kind of experience of classrooms, you've said a couple of things that really stood out to me. You have a basically not more than a 1 to 15 ratio. And I don't know how you control for that, but it sounds like you do in some way. So at most 15 students in a class. I think that probably stands to reason that that's the largest class size that we really should tolerate for our kids if we want our kids to be heard and be seen and felt heard and felt seen in the learning environment. I read recently that the biggest mistake that teachers make typically is they ask questions to find out what the student knows, and they really ought to be asking questions to let the student show what they know, as opposed to they ask questions to find out what the student doesn't know, and what they should be doing is asking questions to find out what the student knows. Because you meet the student where they are. You don't try to just put up roadblocks to where they are. You don't know this, you don't know that,
Yeah.
and disable them. Go ahead.
Yeah. So those are like really, you said like a lot of like amazing things in there. So I love the Socratic method too. And so a lot of our high school classes especially are the Socratic method, where it's literary circle type of like sitting in circles and really looking and asking questions from like the most amazing source books of information versus like, well, here's a textbook. They go right to the source books. So like C.S. Lewis is like really one of the biggest ones and then obviously Shakespeare, depending whether they're doing American literature, world literature, or British literature. But then you talked about just like almost inquiry-based learning. And so that's something else that I do. I'm actually on a national committee of 20 people in the United States. And we're looking to really rewrite pedagogy, and pedagogy being like how children learn and how to teach. And so what we're looking at is like a constructivist classroom and different pedagogy and inquiry-based learning, because every student God has given each of us, regardless of what our age is, just an innate curiosity. And biblically, when you look at how Jesus interacted with the disciples, it's not like he was just always spewing information to them. Like a lot of it was just posing questions and giving them parables that they had to kind of get to the answer and derive the answer through the parable that was given. And so with children, you can have so much fun at creating a really engaging environment, where it is like just like this place of learning, with sharing what they do know, but at the same time posing questions and asking questions in a way in which that is evoking and drawing that information out of them. And so that also helps to create a very exciting, exciting, dynamic way of learning information. So, and our teachers do that as well. So we're always piloting different different curriculum and piloting different pedagogy. So it's just really like this think tank of like innovation and creativity. And, I'm a homeschool mom of 22 years. And so I know from my own 4 children, like it was really special and amazing being around the kitchen table. We've homeschooled every way, but there's also something very special in being able to have children in a classroom with their peer, and just the dynamic of that, the conversations that come learning from each other, and also a teacher engaging them in that. So what's nice about the hybrid model is it doesn't have to be all of that. It can be like part of that, and then also part of like what they're doing at home. And the biggest and greatest decision maker with that is really the parent. The parent is the salt. They get to decide, because every child is different. You might have one child that really enjoys that and really wants even more of that, and then another child that really for a certain time or season of their life is like maybe wants just to do a little bit of that. So you can tailor the program to their need. And then
Right.
there's another really cool component of it. It's called multi-age grouping. And cognitively, behaviorally, and academically, when you group children together with more than one age or grade, there's like a whole other like layer of learning that takes place when you group them with the different range of ages.
Right.
So that's another benefit that we
And
do.
they also get us, I worked with an after school program years ago, and the idea was to teach the older children, the high school students, to mentor the younger kids in grade school.
Mhm.
And what happened was it saved 2 lives at the same time, because the younger kids had somebody who was close enough to them, a high school student, right, who represented somebody who came up from where they were, who was a good role model. But for the high school student, they saw themselves through the eyes of the child, and they took on a new sense of responsibility. And there's something that's very magical that happens when you mesh the different ages together in a it doesn't have to be a classroom setting, but in a learning based setting, right? But what I love is, and I'd love for you to speak to this, and I'm sorry we're running out of time, but you raised 4 kids and you taught them somewhat at the kitchen table. What did you learn from your kids?
Yeah, that's so good. That's such a great question. I love being a homeschool mom. I really just loved it. I look forward someday, being able to have grandchildren and being able to have like maybe a piece of that, being able to do that. And so basically, there is nothing like imaginative play, and also learning with your children. So I would say to like the homeschool parents out there, feel like, oh my goodness, like I barely graduated from high school. How can I possibly like homeschool? You learn with your children. And so I just remember doing like apology of botany with my children, and like learning along with them was just so amazing. And so like even with the classes that we have at ILA, Independent Learning Academy, you are learning, with your child, because the teacher is just a facilitator, and then they get to go home and you're like learning the information with them. And so I would just say embrace that. You get to like take math again. I'm like a better math student now than I
And
was
that,
when
and
I
it's
was
sad
in grade.
because, Lesley, that scares people because they hated it in school, right? They were taught to hate learning. And that's why parents are so reluctant to do home learning with their children, is because they hated it the first time through, and they're convinced they're going to hate it with their children, and their children are going to hate them for doing it with them. And the opposite is true. It's this really nasty trick that our quote unquote educators have played on us. What's
Yeah.
amazing to me is you have a master's in teaching. Like, what's wrong with you that the system didn't stick on you like most people?
You mean like why I didn't stay in the public education?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
like how did you escape it? Like
yes,
you were
yeah,
steeped in it, and you're
yeah,
like, nope, I'm Teflon. I know who I am. I know who I am in Christ. You can't have me, or
yeah.
something.
No, it's actually a really sweet story. Very sweet story. So I was was a public school teacher, and was teaching, and then became pregnant with our first daughter. And I told my class, I'll be back 3 months, I'll be back. And then you have your baby in your arms, you're like, I'm not leaving, like I just wanted to be home with her all the time. And so I was really happy that I was just able to to do that. We actually sold our house so that I could do that. And so where we moved to, which was outside Hartford, Connecticut at the time, there was a really sweet homeschool family. And I had never even actually heard, this is 24 years ago. So I had never even heard of the word homeschooling. Like, it never came my way. I didn't even know it existed. And so the realtor said, this really sweet family moved in next door to you. And she goes, they're really sweet, but they do something kind of different and strange. And I'm like, oh, what does this family do that's different and strange that's moved in next to me? And she's like, they do something called homeschooling. And I'm like, what is that? Like, I'm like, what is that? She goes, I don't really know, but they're really sweet. And she's like, I think they just school their kids at home. So I was just like, oh, I can't wait to meet them. And so kind of fast forward, these little girls would show up on my doorstep every day at noon to play with my daughter, who was only like 6 or 7 months at the time. And I just saw them grow up, and I was just blown away and amazed by them. They're still very much a very big part of our life. They did the logo for ILA. But I remember calling the newspaper saying, you need to come over right now. These like 10-year-old girls that live next door to me just made a teepee in my backyard that is life size and would rival any Iroquois Indian. And you need to come and like just see what they've done. Like, I just knew as soon as I met them, and I was so inspired by them.
Yeah, it's like the world's best kept secret.
Yeah.
It's and when you're exposed to it, you meet and of course, here's the thing. Homeschooling in a sense started, and I use that term loosely, but sort of started with the outcasts, the social pariahs, the kids who literally couldn't stay in school because there was so much bullying, or they were so inept at being social with other children, that, or they were so mentally incapacitated or too mentally proficient that they didn't fit. And that, so they were really, really the misfits. And it sort of gave the whole homeschooling vibe, that this misfit vibe. But there are plenty of, quote, normal parents who just said, you know what, that whole school paradigm, that doesn't work for me. I'm just going to keep my kids home, and I'll figure out how to get them educated. And it sounds like you moved next door to some people who kind of had that paradigm and just said, we're going to do it ourselves. And what I've heard time and time again from parents who have been to, say, a homeschool conference. I have friends who went to a homeschool conference for no good reason. Their friends were going, and they were like, okay, we'll go. And they went and they met teenagers who were homeschooled, and they went, oh my gosh, well, I want my teens to be like that, because those teens are respectful, conversational, like they were like real people as teenagers. And you know that you meet kids out of school who are like, they can't hold a conversation. They have monosyllabic answers. They're disinterested. They don't care. Like, all of that. And so I just love hearing that story, that you were exposed. Like, I mean, God put you right next door to the right family. Am I right? And so that sent you on this path, and now you have ILA. Where can people find out more information about your efforts?
Absolutely. So you can go to independentlearningacademy.org, and by this fall, we're going to have 10 locations. San Diego County, Orange County, and then we're outside Boise, Idaho, in Meridian. And we're really looking to bring these campuses across the country because they are really exciting, dynamic, innovative, and the parent is the salt, and you get to choose however you want to interface with it. Because right now in the world of homeschooling, every homeschooling family looks different. I was an English teacher, and I think very metaphorically, like, we're all species of apples, but all different types. And so some families, you have single moms or dual income families, and then more of a traditional where mom is, home teaching and dad is working. And so, but everybody can be homeschooling and in some capacity be able to do it. And so we exist to be a blessing, and we can come alongside you and support you in your homeschooling any way that looks like.
And you know what, parents, if you have a community and this is something that's is interesting to you to figure out how to start something like that, you should reach out and talk to Lesley Russell. Lesley, thank you so much for coming on the show. This is the Sam Sorbo Show.
Thank you so much.